So today I want to take a look at the Petro in 10.0. Much like the Alaska, I think a lot of people thought that the super cruiser or tanky cruiser kind of playstyle got nerfed, and that's just not the case. Fire prevention, while incredibly useful, is not that needed or necessary on cruisers because you get a faster acting damage control. Or your damage control comes up quicker, so you're less likely to die from fires compared to a battleship. And this game, I think, is going to be a perfect example of this, because this team just can't kill me, because this ship is so good. The ship is crazy, crazy, crazy good at these kind of YOLO-ish pushes. I'll say I was trying to get spotting damage here. That was my goal, so keep an eye out for that. There was a mission to get the Heisen, where in a cruiser, if you get 45k spotting damage in a single game, you complete the mission. Otherwise, I think it's like 400,000 spotting damage over any number of games. So I was trying to get it done in a single game, make it go by quicker, and the requirement was that you have to be in a cruiser of some kind. So I thought I would try in things like Colbert, Radar Minotaur, things like that, where you're a little bit stealthy, open water, that kind of stuff, act like a DD, but I've just found I wasn't getting any spotting. And that's where the Petro idea kind of comes in, where what if I just full send it into people and hope that my team deals 45k in damage? That'd be kind of neat. So the correct play here is really to just kind of chill where I'm at. This is a relatively safe island, and there's really no need to push in. But I see a great opportunity to get all this spotting damage. Our Friesland is in smoke, so he won't be spotting anybody. And if I'm the furthest one forward, any damage on these ships will be spotting damage for me. And because I'm in a Petro, you can make plays like this work. Again, intelligent island usage, and knowing how to angle your ship is incredibly important for plays like this. So we go dark, that's important. The reason I decided to do this is I went dark, because it gives me an advantage where enemy ships will start to angle differently, they'll start to focus on different targets, and they might just assume that I'm backing out. The other reason I'm willing to do this is there's nobody on their team on the A, B, C lines, and like 1, 2, 3 area, like that kind of thing. So if people are in that kind of corner of 9 squares, you can't make this push at all, just straight up. Even this Sovietsky Soyuz is almost too far towards that corner of the map to make this push happen. You'll notice I'm kind of keeping an eye on him. I'll start to angle a little bit when he gets his front turrets off to try and mitigate that damage. But my goal is to get to this island. And islands keep you safe majority of the time. You'll notice there's a CV in this game. And this is usually a bad play in a CV game, but I was also willing to test out the AA of the Petro, because I am trying to run the 2 AA captain upgrades on my Petro. So I wanted to test out and see how they worked out. That was kind of the whole thing. This was a test to see how good Petro is in 10.0 for me. I just full sent it. Sometimes that's what you got to do if you want to really find out the limits of the ships you're playing. You just got to put yourself into really bad positions and see if you live. So obviously we're hoping that the Shimakaze didn't torp us, or that he torped in front of us was the hope, because I'm going to stop here. Get a nice little lucky detonation on the Shima, and there you go, 47k spotting. I've got my mission done already, easy clap. And the Shima torped a little too far forward. So we're good here. We can isolate 1v1s here all day. There's not much the enemy team can do to dislodge us at this point. And we're going to win this side now. Now that I'm here, we're basically guaranteed to win this side. Even though the ships are relatively even, my forward position is just giving my team so much spotting that it's just inevitable that we're going to win this side. And I really enjoy playing Petro for situations like this, where you can do these crazy pushes. And because the ship has like some of the best AA in the game, for whatever reason, This ship has like the best, or almost the best AA in the game when its defensive fires up. It's just disgusting what you can do to even tier 10 planes. So you can actually kind of make positions like this work. You just got to be aware that the enemy CV can just use the island to block your AA, and then you're just going to be only getting AA when he's right over top of you. That is something to be aware in these positions. But the AP on this ship is just kind of devastating, honestly. It's really, really, really strong AP. You get a decent reload. It hits hard. It's got slightly improved pen angles, not quite Des Moines levels, but it's pretty good. And you can see I'm just isolating 1v1s. That's the important thing. The takeaway here is in big cruisers and battleships, and any ship, really, that you're playing, you're trying to isolate 1v1 fights. And yeah, you can Citadel a Sovietsky Soyuz at 13 kilometers. That's how good the pen is on these guns. Pretty nuts, I would say. But isolating 1v1s is key here. If I was to turn this corner, I'd be dead, because like there's 5 ships there. But as it is, we're just slowly dealing with them one by one by one by one. And this is what allows us to stay alive a little easier. So making decisions like this is usually pretty dumb, but the more you practice pushing in and brawling, the easier time you're going to have identifying scenarios like this where you can push in. And pushing in like this still wins games. As much as the meta is so passive these days and how nobody wants to push in, everybody wants to stay at the back, the best way to win games is to take the fight to the enemy. That is how you win still. It's just really, really difficult to do with everybody trying to camp the back of the map. And that's why you need big islands like this one to give you the opportunity to have a almost save point, you can think of it as, or a checkpoint, to keep yourself safe from the enemy team for a little bit. Get some heals up, that kind of stuff. Now here, just look at this AA. This is a tier 10 midway. And his planes are just getting shredded on the way in. They really are. Sure, there's a Massachusetts helping out a little bit, but yeah. He didn't have a great time striking us, that's for sure. And then what we do once the planes are gone, hopefully, yeah, we click, I believe the default key is P to cycle your AA on and off. It turns your AA off, and then you turn it back on again. And what that does is it resets the cooldown on your defensive AA consumable. So then it's likely, if the CV is far enough away, that you'll have your defensive fire up by the next time he's ready to strike you. That's really important to do in your AA cruisers, especially like in Atlanta, where you have unlimited AA consumables. You just want the AA up all the time. You want to be resetting that cooldown. But of course, you have limited charges, so you have to, on most ships. Atlanta has unlimited, but on most ships you have limited charges, so you have to use it intelligently. But so generally what that means is you're using it on either the torpedo bombers or the dive bombers, whatever is more scary to deal with for your ship. And for destroyers, obviously, you're using it on the rocket planes. Like in a Holland, you're definitely defensive firing rocket planes over anything else, because you can dodge the torps and you can dodge the dive bombers relatively easily, in a DD at least. But again, just poke out, try and take 1v1s, or here in a 1v2 kind of thing. It's not a bad fight for me to take, because his secondaries won't pen me most of the time, because we have 50mm plating everywhere, and his secondaries will pen like 30 to 40mm of armor, depending on IFHE or not. And we're just crushing him. His main guns aren't very accurate, so he'll have a difficult time sniping my bow, which is really the only place he's going to deal that much damage to me. Superstructure damage is not that bad in a Petro. And pretty easy to take out a Pomeran like that, with a fast reload and pretty decent guns. You'll notice I don't really shoot HE from this ship. The HE is kind of anemic. For whatever reason, it just feels really bad. I think that's just down to the poor dispersion at longer ranges. And longer ranges, of course, is where you're probably going to be shooting the HE. So you're just hitting less shells than ships like Zhao or Hindenburg or Henry, that kind of thing. Even though the HE Alpha is decent still, you're just hitting less shells. So that's why it feels kind of worse. But there you go. Citadels into a Soyuz. With AP this good, why would you want to use HE, you know? So getting into forward positions like this is very, very beneficial for yourself and for your team. And you see, we're just slowly creeping our way around the corner. Once you've found positions like this where you're safe on an island, you just creep around the corner just to keep shots on one target. You can't do this all the time. And of course, if the CV decided to focus me, I would have died here. But fortunately, he decided to go after the other people on my team because the AA was enough to deter him from focusing me. Well, at least that's the hope with AA. If you've got a really strong AA ship, the CV can still strike you, but the hope is that he is less likely to strike you. That's the great hope of having a decent AA ship these days. It's not to stop the strike, it's just to deter the CV from striking you. We do end up beating the one torp, but it's not the end of the world. And you can see we've tanked 2.5 million potential damage already. We have 63,000 spotting damage and 133k damage. So a very good game, like, from all respects, honestly. We did a great job for our team here. And really, we kind of held down this flank, because a lot of the times when people try and push through this flank, they go too wide, and they end up dying to everybody on the enemy team who kites into their spawn. You remember from earlier, the whole team was kind of in the AB 5-6 kind of area. And if you push through into A directly, you're just gonna die to those people kiting away. You have to get up close and use these islands to just slowly push people back. You don't want to fall into the trap of the ships kiting away. That's kind of a big deal for pushing in. You don't want to just be in the open water. It's these checkpoints, these islands that you're trying to use. And Petro is a great example of this. And there's a Kutuzov, and we're not going to push out too far. We're trying to isolate a fight with the Kutuzov now. We don't want the Missouri and North Carolina getting into this engagement. And sometimes the dispersion just works. And there's our 4th kill. And yeah, we actually do end up getting a kraken in this game. And I think we did a pretty solid job carrying this one out for our team. Unfortunately, I don't have the scoreboard, the end score for our performance, but I think it was close to a 3,000 base game, I believe. So not too bad. Here, I probably could have defensive fired these rocket planes. I didn't think they would deal all that much damage, and, well, he whiffed. But sometimes those rocket planes, if they hit the right spot, can deal some pretty massive damage. Again, citadeling battleships at weird angles at longer range. This ship is pretty fun to play. The problem is, I just dislike tier 10 so much these days that I just don't want to play tier 10. So that's why I'll be playing tier 9s and that kind of thing more often. But this is a great ship if you want to learn how to push. If you're okay with dying and putting yourself into bad situations to learn how to push, this is definitely a ship to go for, because it's very forgiving. You do have a big citadel that you have to be careful of when you give broadside, but when you're angled, it's very forgiving, which some people could argue is like it's too tanky compared to battleships, but it's a nice ship for anybody wanting to learn how to push, learn how to play like I played in this game. It's a good ship for that. It's a good ship, and I think a lot of beginners who want to push in more and are tired of that, campy playstyle, you'll like playing a ship like this to push in with. It's not great at range because of the dispersion, but learning how to push in with a ship like this is a very good thing. And this is how I have it set up. We're taking Grease the Gears because your turret traverse is actually pretty bad, and you really want to boost that as much as you can. Something to consider would be Gun Feeder. But you saw how much I shot AP and how well that worked, so it's not as necessary to take that. I'm running Expert AA. I'm also running consumable enhancements. This is just to increase the time of the radar, because it's a really, really short radar. So boosting that up a little bit is quite nice. Adrenaline Rush, this is just free reload. The more The more you lose HP, the faster you reload, and that's very good on a ship like this, because you can stay at lower HP values for quite a long time in a Petro. Superintendent, getting more heals, getting more radars, getting more defensive fires. Very good for the ship. Concealment expert, this gets your concealment down to 12.4 kilometers. That allows you to do a lot of these pushes that a battleship usually wouldn't be able to do. On top of your better armor than most battleships, let's be honest. It does have better armor. You get better concealment that allows you to do these interesting pushes easier. And then AA gunner as well to increase that AA even more. You can see you get 9 shell explosions. If you take the upgrade yet, it would go up to 10, I believe, if you would take this one. Or actually 11. Wow. So, yeah, you can get pretty nasty AA, but you can see I'm taking reload, concealment, propulsion mod. This is what allows me to poke on islands faster. So speed up, slow down, that kind of thing. Start reversing faster, all those things. It just helps you kind of speed juke a little bit more. You need the dispersion. You got to take that. And then these are... I should probably have this surveillance radar mod on here. I'm not sure why I don't. But, yeah, these ones don't matter quite as much. Main armaments mod. And yeah, this is why this ship is very good to push in with. Because it's so low to the ocean. And you can see just how small the citadel is. And how well it's armored. How small the superstructure is. So this is where destroyers can hurt you. This is the only place DDs can hurt you. Unless there's like some higher caliber ones with IFHE that take that, but then they're not dealing fires, that kind of thing. Battleships have to shoot for your nose because they'll just overpen your superstructure if they want to do any meaningful damage. And if you're wiggling back and forth with your prop mod and that kind of thing, it's really hard to hit this at longer ranges. They're not citadeling you through the bow because of this icebreaker stuff. And then the cherry on top is that the citadel actually has spaced armor. So there's this 120 millimeter and 40 millimeter citadel protection here. And then on the outside of that, there's 180. So it's spaced armor, which means the shell has to do a bouncing check, so a ricochet check, to get through this. At an angle like this, it might ricochet, it might not. So it does that check. It's got a percentage chance to get through. But then, if it pens this, it also has to do a ricochet check on this further back armor as well. And so that's what gives you the ability to be so tanky, even while getting your back turret on target, because there's multiple ricochet checks before you'll actually eat a citadel, which is pretty crazy. And that's the reason this ship has kind of black hole armor, almost like the French cruisers and French battleships a little bit. It's this spaced armor that has really weird mechanics where if you pen one but don't pen the other one, or you pen the outer armor but you don't pen the inner armor, you actually don't deal any damage. So, yeah, this ship is fun if you're looking to push. I would not recommend it if you're someone who's trying to snipe with this thing. It's really not meant for that. But if you're looking to learn how to push in and you struggle with your battleships to push in, this is definitely one to try. And it's a break from that more boring playstyle of spamming high explosive from the back of the map. But you still have to deal with tier 10 matchmaker, which is the only downside of this ship, really. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great day.